Yes, we are live. We are back. This is the SmackDown post-show here at WrestleNews 365. I appreciate everyone that's tuned in. I appreciate everyone that's come over from the watch-along. Show just went off the air live from Bologna, Italy, live internationally on Netflix. Of course, if you're watching in the United States, show hasn't even aired yet. It will be airing later on and on USA Network in its usual start time of 8 p.m. Eastern. I mean, get involved, guys, because this is what the post-show is all about. The post-show is all about opinion. Post-show is all about how we're sort of feeling coming out of that show. I mentioned this last week when it comes to SmackDown. First of all, obviously, the international crowds are great, because you get atmosphere. You do get people, crowds that don't often get to see live WWE taping, so they're into everything and they do the best they can to get involved and add atmosphere. And particularly on the road to WrestleMania, when you've got these big matches and big feuds happening, it's exciting. But I mentioned this last week, and I thought it was actually even more evident this week, to be honest with you. SmackDown last week was a show that the crowd were really into at the start, and by the end of it, they weren't really in it. Not really the case this time around, because the last segment was a big segment. It was really the segment everyone came to see, which was the Punk, Reigns, and Rollins stuff. But this show just has zero business at all being 3 hours long. There is just no need for this show to be that long. And don't get me wrong, I understand the reasons. You don't have to tell me why it's 3 hours long, because we all know it's because USA Network are giving WWE a ton of money for that extra third hour. They lost a lot of programming when Raw went to Netflix, NXT went to the CW, so they want to get back the hours that they lost, and they want to add an extra hour to SmackDown. I get it. It's not permanent. As we get into the summer, that extra hour is going to go, and USA are going to launch a different program, I think, in that 10 p.m. slot, I think it's going to be. But it's just, there's a lot of filler. There's a lot of filler on this show, and I think that the discussions that people are having about WrestleMania, I think, are becoming more and more valid this year. I think WWE are running a bit of a risk that this WrestleMania at the moment, it's really the John Cena. It's the John Cena WrestleMania. And there's nothing wrong with that, because it's John Cena's last WrestleMania. It should be all about John Cena. But as a two-night event where you've got to have two main events, you've got to have two solid cards. You've got to have multiple noteworthy and newsworthy feuds and matches and, things that people go, I'm really interested in. I'm really excited to see that. It just doesn't feel like an overabundance of it, which is strange because it's quite contradictory to a WWE that is red hot at the moment, the WWE that is selling out everywhere, that is doing record-breaking business, and, they're on fire. But there's also this just feeling going into this WrestleMania of Cena, Cody, I'm all in. I'm invested on that. Obviously, the Cena heel turn, it's unprecedented for him, in 25 years. First time he's been heel in 20-odd years. Like, it's in for that. And tonight was really about, okay, it feels like maybe the sort of second main event-ish in terms of star power will be this triple threat match. And maybe that final segment between Roman, between Punk, and between Rollins left a bit to be desired. And you have to remember as well, they've teased this confrontation between the three for a while now. Last Friday on SmackDown, we had Paul Heyman come out in Barcelona and just sort of say, look, Roman's not here tonight. He's going to be here next week. Tune in. We'd had Rollins do the same thing Monday on Raw, where he went, Punk and Roman aren't here, but they'll be there Friday. Tune in. And we got that there's going to be a triple threat match. Of course, no official confirmation, but they all pointed to the sign, which is good enough in WWE. And yeah, it was a one-segment show. And maybe the segment felt a little bit flat. I mean, I'm interested to see what you guys think. Be sure to smash a like on the like button, guys. Be sure to subscribe as well, bottom right-hand corner. We've already got over 50 people watching. Let's see if we can get to a quick 50 likes if you haven't already. As Daniel Luciano says there in the chat, slam that like button. As a reminder, you can join the WN365 roster. All you got to do is click that join button. You get your badges and your emojis and your exclusive members-only content. Let's get into the show. I guess it's a 3-hour one, so there's a lot to get into for all of this. Show kicks off with Randy Orton. Randy Orton comes out to the ring. I mean, he might have taken, I think, like 5 minutes to make his entrance. I mean, they played his song on loop. He was getting that of an amazing reception from the crowd there in Bologna in Italy, and they love Randy Orton. Who doesn't? So he didn't even get the chance to say anything. Out comes Kevin Owens. Owens comes out. And he apologizes. He apologizes for what he did to Randy. He apologizes for getting involved last week and pulling Carmelo Hayes out the ring, and says, look, I did what I did because I was angry. You chose Cody Rhodes' side over me. Everything that happened to Cody Rhodes, he deserved. He's the snake. He's the one that teamed up with Roman Reigns. He did all that stuff, and I apologize for that. And because of that, you know what we should do? What we should do is we should be tag team partners again. We should be friends again. And at WrestleMania, we should win the tag team titles. And, of course, Randy Orton was like, no, I don't want to do that. I want to face you at WrestleMania, and I'm going to kick your head off your shoulders. So it's confirmation. We did get official confirmation later on in the night as well. Randy Orton versus Kevin Owens is happening at WrestleMania. As far as an opening promo segment goes, maybe paint by numbers, just confirmation of the match. No physicality or anything like that. It's the punt versus the pile driver, isn't it, really? And I mentioned just during the watch along, I think it's really built around. I can probably see the spots in this match, to be honest with you, which will be Kevin Owens hits Randy Orton with a pile driver, kicks out. Randy Orton hits Kevin Owens with an RKO, kicks out. And then Randy Orton hits him with a punt and gets the 1, 2, 3. I think that's the direction that this one's going. I mean, maybe you could say Randy Orton at this point is just bulletproof, so Kevin Owens should get the win. But the heel shouldn't always necessarily put Randy Orton on the shelf. Should the heel necessarily win this one? Maybe not. So we get confirmation of that, but it was an opening segment that the crowd were into Randy Orton coming out, but that was about it. That's about it. And again, there's a lot of filler in this show. Like I said, a lot of filler, a lot of filling time because it's 3 hours long. We have Damian Priest out next. There's this tag team match that involves him teaming with Jimmy Uso against Shinsuke Nakamura and Drew McIntyre. Damian Priest didn't even wait for Drew McIntyre to make his entrance. They brawled in the entranceway, brawled in the ramp. Fine tag team match. Damian Priest and Jimmy Uso get the victory after Damian Priest hits the South of Heaven chokeslam on Shinsuke Nakamura. What a drop-off for Shinsuke. He's gone back to what he was doing before, which is largely nothing, taking pins. When he came back with a new gimmick, I was one of the few people actually to predict that I thought he'd win the championship, the US title at Survivor Series, because I just thought they've put so much into this entrance and this new gimmick that there must be something there with it, and they'll give it a bit of a push, which they did. And then he defended the championship twice. One was by disqualification, and then after that he lost it. So either they've lost interest, Nakamura's contract's coming up. There are rumors about that, weren't there? Nakamura was there to eat the pinfall in this one. Jimmy Uso was just kind of there. As I mentioned during the watch along too, I do wonder what is next for Jimmy Uso. You've got Roman Reigns doing his own thing, not really bloodline related. You've got Jey Uso doing his own thing. You've got the new bloodline, which you're not involved in anymore. I'm looking at Jimmy Uso and just going, you need to do something completely different. At the moment, you're just coming across as Jay Light in terms of the stuff. You've got the same moveset. You look the same because you're twins. He needs to do something different, and I'm not sure what that is. I think he needs to take a big swing, and the analogy was made in the live chat in the watch-along of, you had Matt and Jeff Hardy, and not that they look the same, but they had the same, outfit when they were the Hardy Boys tag team. And when they split into single stars, Jeff was just still Jeff, and he's largely just been Jeff throughout his career. Matt Hardy had to do gimmicks. He had to separate himself because he wasn't as popular, wasn't as over, and he had to do gimmicks. So Matt Hardy version 1, or Matt Hardy will not die, and Broken Matt, and Big Money Matt, and all the different Matt Hardys you can possibly think of. He had to do that, and I do look at Jimmy Uso and go, maybe you need to take a bit of a bigger swing and completely reinvent yourself and get away from all of the family stuff. Maybe that's the right thing. After the match, Drew McIntyre continued doing what he did last week, which was attacking Damian Priest. Some very stiff punches to the face, Claymore to the face, and it was given a bit of a look where he was sort of glassy-eyed and looking over like that. So they're trying to make something out of this. I mean, there was that report, wasn't there? I'll probably say this every week on these post shows, but there was that report from, I think it was the Daily Mail, saying that McIntyre wasn't too thrilled with this feud against Damian Priest going into WrestleMania. He felt that it was a bit of a nothing feud and a bit of a nothing match, and it does kind of feel like that, in fairness. But I would maybe say the pushback to McIntyre is what you could say is to be honest, Drew, a lot of matches feel like nothing matches going into this WrestleMania. Not that there'll be bad ones. I don't think there'll be bad matches, but they're just like, there's just no. I look at it, kind of sums it up. Like Drew McIntyre versus Damian Priest. I look at that match and I go, that'll be a good match. I don't have any doubts of that'll be a good match. I really like Drew's stuff. I'm one of those people that doesn't completely hate on Damian Priest. I know in sort of the wrestling online, IWC, whatever you want to call it, there's this feeling that Damian Priest is overpushed and he's not that good, and Triple H sees something in him that's not there, and blah, 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 blah. I think they'll have a fine match. Their match that they'll have, I think, will be fine. But I just looking at the feud going, am I invested enough for this to be WrestleMania? Like a WrestleMania feud, particularly after the year that McIntyre's had. I mean, he's been part of the biggest and one of the best feuds in the company with the Punk stuff, and he's challenged for the world title on a couple of occasions. He's won Money in the Bank. Last year, he was challenging for the world title. I'm not saying he should be doing it again, but it just feels like not as significant, and it will just kind of be lost on one of the days, whatever it is. Austin says in the chat, I hope Randy does his daddy's pile driver, Cowboy Bob. Jade, one of the members of the roster, says, I hope Jimmy Uso finds something, and also says WrestleMania not looking good. Let's be honest. David, one of our members as well, says, is it just me, or is this Mania build mostly brawls and very little story aside from Cena and Cody? There is just a sort of a weird feeling, isn't there? There's just a weird feeling about some of these stories and some of these feuds as we're getting closer to Mania. Speaking of which, perfect example, we had this interview segment, side-by-side interview segment next with Tiffany Stratton and Charlotte Flair that I'm going to be completely honest with you guys, I just did not think worked whatsoever. I mean, it was mainly them both sort of talking over each other. And secondly, I don't think Tiffany did the greatest. I think it kind of exposed her lack of mic skills. I mean, obviously, great worker in the ring. She's got a great look. She's super over with the audience. Tiffy time. You know, it's not to say, she's mid. She's not even that good. Blah blah blah. But it was just it was just badly executed. I felt talking over each other. The dialogue wasn't great, and sort of her point was, you find the hottest thing that comes into WWE and you pour water on it. And Charlotte does her spiel, which is, bow down to the queen, and that's it. But it was just. It was a rough segment. It really was, and I go back to talking about WrestleMania again when I'm saying that this match between those two at WrestleMania, I think they'll probably have one of the better matches of WrestleMania weekend. Tiffany Stratton versus Charlotte Flair as a match. I'm talking in-ring spectacle will be a good match. Charlotte Flair is one of the best performers on the WWE roster. She always has good matches. Particularly WrestleMania, she turns it up to another level. Like last year, obviously not last year, she was doing WrestleMania, the year before when she was against Rhea Ripley, top match, and was fantastic. But so this time around it'll be the same. It'll be a top match, but I just don't know if I'm caring that much. You've got to do good. It's one thing to have a good match and know that you're going to have a good match, but you've got to make the audience care, be invested. I mean, it's quite obvious. I think Tiffy's the baby face, Charlotte's the heel, which again I think they kind of flipped because I think they thought Charlotte was going to get more of a babyface reaction when she came back at the Rumble, but it just didn't. It wasn't a well executed segment. I felt this one. Oh, the brawl they did last week was good. That was well executed, and I thought, okay, they're putting some heat on this feud now. But this for me just didn't work. For me. Next up, what a picture that is of Jacob Fatu. We had the United States Championship #1 contenders match. Jacob Fatu against big Braun Strowman, one big son of a bitch. And it led to interference. We were wondering how this was going to go because there was already a backstage segment. LA Knight had spoken with Braun Strowman and said, I've been told by Nick Aldis that the winner of the match is going to be the #1 contender for the United States Championship. And there was some, I was included, going, maybe Jacob Fatu wins this one then. And then in the US Championship match, that's where the issues happened between Solo Sikoa and Fatu. But that's not what happened. They protected Fatu because he didn't get pinned or anything. He was in control. But they just sort of had Solo Sikoa and Tama Tonga interfere. They come out. They get involved. Braun Strowman wins by disqualification. Therefore, he's facing LA Knight next week. They all attack Braun Strowman. LA Knight comes out, evens the odds, and that was it. There was a fine match. I mean, I think actually Braun and Jacob Fatu have good chemistry. What I will say is what I've been saying a lot recently when I watch Braun Strowman's matches. Braun Strowman's knees are more cooked than a fried egg on a hot asphalt in Texas. Yeah, that they are cooked. Braun Strowman's knees or legs are cooked. And again, I know he had the injury on his career and he had lost some feeling in his leg, so that's partially it. But you see him try to run around that ring. That'd be a bit of a difficult watch at certain points. Or doing that Strowman Express, running around the ring, is a bit of a difficult watch. But that's a pro wrestler for you right there, right? A lot of pro wrestlers' knees are shot. A lot of pro wrestlers have injuries. They get through the match, tell a story somehow, some way, and try and put over the new monster, which is Jacob Fatu. So clearly this is, bubbling, leading something, because backstage afterwards you see Fatu confront Solo Sikoa, and Solo's like, well, we only got involved because we thought, he's like, thought what? Thought I was going to lose? Is that what it is? So that's the tensions building. So I think that's an indication, isn't it? We're getting Fatu versus Solo Sikoa at WrestleMania, which again, maybe it says a lot. I'm like many people, very, very high on Jacob Fatu. Jacob Fatu, for me, future world champion. Obviously, for years and years, they passed on him because of his background, because obviously the criminal stuff, the inability to travel. They've got past that now. I mean, he's done shows in Spain and Italy and Canada. It's not a problem. But so I'm big on Jacob Fatu, not so much on Solo. So again, I look at this one and go, Jacob Fatu Solo Sikoa at WrestleMania. What does that match interest me? I mean, let me know in the chat. One if it does, two if it doesn't. Does Jacob Fatu versus Solo Sikoa, does that do anything for you in the chat? One for yes, two for no. I don't know. There probably could be better options. I suppose you can't necessarily go into that straight away. Because I look at Fatu and they sort of teased a Braun Breaker match at some point. So you go, oh, okay. It's a bit mixed. Brian says yes. Steffi's going no. Austin's going with 3. Jadine 1.5. Like, maybe because it's Jacob Fatu. Shockwave Wrestling's going with a 2. Yeah, and again, it's like that for a lot of the matches where it's like, well, David says, one of our members, but if Jacob runs through Solo, then I can get with it. It just, if anything, it's a credit to Jacob Fatu and a credit to how actually he's been, booked by WWE, that already he kind of feels bigger and more important than this now. And again, I think that's a credit to WWE of how they've booked him so strong and how clever they've booked him. He just feels like how he's built up, and maybe that's how we get. There's been a lot of stories, hasn't there, about Lance Anawahi and Hikuleu maybe not being ready if they should come up. I don't know. I'm curious to see where Jacob Fatu goes post WrestleMania, but for this match, I suppose you've got to do the split at some point. Maybe that's what they're thinking. Look, you've got to do the split. Do it at WrestleMania. They've invested a lot of time since Jacob Fatu debuted. He debuted with Solo Sikoa and the Bloodline. So that's the story that they're telling. They're telling that version of the story, and that's what they're going to do. So, yeah, maybe that's why. And then post WrestleMania, we get a big Fatu push into the main event scene. Maybe he does win a Intercontinental Championship or United States Championship, perhaps. Maybe that's the direction that they go in. Next up, we had Piper Niven versus Zelina Vega. Poor Zelina Vega, I will say, because Zelina Vega has this entrance theme that clearly nobody in Bologna, and I'm going to estimate the entirety of Italy, maybe Europe, maybe the entire planet Earth, knew her song, because there is a video, I don't know if you guys would have seen this, of Deonna Purrazzo on Monday Night Raw in 2019 or early 2020. She comes out, and she's already had like 5 matches on NXT at this point. Like, people don't even know her, like, super, super hardcore people. Like, not a lot of people do, especially her music. She came out and it was silence. And, like, so silent that people thought, oh, this video has been edited. It was that quiet. It was like that with Zelina Vega when she came out tonight. crowd weren't really into it loads until the end. To be fair, I think I'll credit both the work rate by Piper Niven and Vega as the match went on. At the end, they kind of did get the crowd there, but it wasn't really much of a match. It was filler. It was a filler match. I mean, I could get it if Zelina Vega won and they were going to be building to a Women's United States title match, but it doesn't really feel like that's where they're going because they got the win. The Secret Hervis got involved to distract Zelina, but that was about it. So, like I said, it was very, very much filler, this one. We got another Aleister Black vignette. There was the 4 there. It did end with a 3 in the background, so I don't know if they're counting down weeks. It technically, is it now 3 weeks to WrestleMania, 4 weeks to WrestleMania? I think what this is indicating, the likelihood is, on the SmackDown post-WrestleMania, Aleister Black's returning. I think that's what they're hinting, aren't they? So Aleister Black's on his way back to WWE. His contract expired with AEW. Paul Levesque's a big fan. Paul Heyman's a big fan. He's coming back to WWE. He's coming back to SmackDown. Of course, it's the same brand his wife is on, Zelina Vega, so that makes a lot of sense. Next up, we actually had what I'm going to say is match of the night. And I wasn't necessarily expecting it to be. We had Jade Cargill against Liv Morgan. They also announced that Randy Orton and Kevin Owens is official for WrestleMania. But we had Jade Cargill versus Liv Morgan. And I tell you, the match was really, really, really good. Jade Cargill, I believe Sean Ross Sapp tweeted this. I want to make sure that I get my facts right for this one. Because Jade Cargill, since she's come into WWE, she hasn't wrestled many singles matches. She's been very protected. We know, obviously, that she's green, very green, in terms of she's very green in terms of her work, etc., etc. This was Jade Cargill's first singles pinfall loss since September 2023. She hadn't been pinned in the 5 singles matches she had in WWE. She's been very protected. She hasn't done a lot of singles work or anything like that. Obviously, during her time off for the injury, she was at the Performance Center and she was doing work there, getting reps in. This is, and in tag team matches too, this is the best I think Jade Cargill has looked in the entirety of her WWE career so far. Easily her best match. And I think also as a testament to Liv Morgan, I think Liv made her look great. The key in these kind of matches where you've got larger versus smaller, you've got power versus speed, is the smaller person has to bump, the smaller person has to sell, and the smaller person has to make the bigger person look like $1 million. And that's exactly what Liv Morgan did in this one. She made Jade look like $1 million. And the crowd, they were all in with this match and also all in with Liv Morgan. They were big into Morgan. I don't know what their plans are for Liv Morgan heading into WrestleMania. If she doesn't have a big part in whatever the women's matches are, I think it's a bit of a crime, considering the work she's put in over the last 12 months, largely carried the women's division on Raw as the women's world champion, really come into her own. Super over with the audience, really good in the ring. I think it's actually, not only is she over, but her in-ring work has improved immensely. And this is an inexperienced Jade Cargill still, and she got the best match out of it she's had in WWE thus far. Finish comes, Naomi gets involved. She hits Jade Cargill with the Women's Tag Team Championship bout. Liv hits Oblivion, gets the 1, 2, 3. Surprising that Jade does the job because they do try and protect her. It's not a clean finish. I suppose there's protection there. But this is what really interests me. So I speak earlier on about the match between Charlotte Flair and Tiffany Stratton. That I say, look, it's going to be a great match. No doubt about it. Tiffy, Charlotte, great workers. They're going to have a great match. But because of the time that's been put into this, because of the story that's been told, and because of the promos, with the Bianca Belair and the Naomi split and the little subtle teasers that maybe Bianca actually involved with what Jade Cargill said last week, I'm invested in this more than I am in the Tiffany Stratton Charlotte Flair one, which by all intents and purposes I shouldn't be, because Naomi versus Jade Cargill against Tiffany Stratton versus Charlotte Flair. The Tiffy versus Charlotte Flair will be a better match. They're better workers. Naomi's a fantastic worker. Jade Cargill's green. But I'm more invested in this coming out of this match because, one, the match was good. There was heat. There was, crowd was invested in it too. And it's a story that's been told over a long period of time. And Naomi feels a bit revitalized, a bit refreshed because she's now got this heel character. Like, that all just works. And I think that's the key thing. With some of these matches heading into WrestleMania, there are just some that just feel like the story just isn't there, or the story hasn't been told. And there's others where you go, well, story has been told there, and I'm invested in that. That feels right. So I don't know if this is going for a singles match at WrestleMania, because usually on paper you go, okay, one of the matches we're gonna have at WrestleMania is Naomi versus Jade Cargill. You go, really? I don't know, really? That doesn't feel very WrestleMania-ish. But with the story that they've told here, that does feel a bit WrestleMania-ish. And again, I think that's a credit to all those that are involved in that one. Next up, we had the Street Profits come out, of course, the new tag team champions. They won the tag team titles last week, defeating DIY. They had a promo segment. Out came Santos Escobar and Los Garzas, Legado del Fantasma, also Pretty Deadly going to challenge for the tag team championships next week in London. Street Profits got a win in a good tag team match. Again, maybe it went longer than it needed to be, because a lot of these matches, it was one of those ones, if this was a 2-hour show, 2.5-hour show, this match would have never gone this long. But they got time to fill. So it was a fine tag team match. I think the biggest takeaway is what we've known for a long, long, long time, which is Montez Ford is a breakout star. Montez Ford, he's tag team champion now. Maybe the fact, he did speak about, before being interrupted, he gave Angelo Dawkins a hug, said, I can always count on you. I don't know if that's the beginning of a turn happening or a split happening. I know they just won the tag team titles, but to say that a Montez Ford singles run is overdue is the understatement of the century. Why he hasn't been a single star for a while now, I can only put down to that he doesn't want to abandon Angelo Dawkins and worried that he might get lost in the shuffle, but it's not show friends, it's show business. Got to go make your money. And you got to go make your career. And when he does, he's got it. He's got, he's got the promo. He's got the work. He's got the look. He can work. He's got the crowd. He's got everything. He can be a heel or a babyface. Easy. And I don't know. Like I said, my theory is that Bianca Belair actually attacked Jade Cargill, and she's going to win the Women's World Championship at WrestleMania and turn heel. Maybe Montez does the same thing. Maybe Montez turns on Angelo Dawkins at WrestleMania and he goes heel and they're a power couple on Raw or something. I don't know. But to say that a Montez Ford singles run is overdue is just the biggest understatement. And he will be so much money that he's got to do it. He's got to do it. And then we get into, really, isn't it amazing? You can skip through a 3-hour show in 30 minutes. That's how much happened on this show. We get to the segment that everyone tuned in for, which was Reigns, Rollins, and CM Punk. Roman Reigns came out, took about 5 minutes with his entrance. Crowd loved Roman. I mean, who doesn't? Crowd were all into the OTC. Big, heavily invested into Roman Reigns. He kind of lied. He said, I'm going to be out here for 20 minutes. He was not out there for 20 minutes, by the way. But he came out and said that Seth Rollins tried to kill him at the Rumble. CM Punk screwed him at the Rumble. So he screwed CM Punk and he tried to kill Seth Rollins when he came back on Raw in Madison Square Garden a few weeks ago. This, of course, brings out Seth Rollins. He said that he's angry at Roman Reigns, that he didn't allow Roman Reigns to allow him to finish off CM Punk and rid him from this company and this business because he's dangerous. This then, of course, led to CM Punk coming out. CM Punk comes out, talks about Rollins and the issues he has with him, and also came out and said about that Paul Heyman had delivered his tribal chief on a silver platter. Said he talked about the favor, but didn't say he was going to be cashing it in just yet. So you know where this is headed. He said, my fist isn't taped to hold a microphone, it's taped to fight. And then it goes to a fight. All three brawl in their own different ways. Reigns goes after Rollins goes after Punk goes after Rollins and Reigns, different combination. So they're all brawling around. Out come the referees and the officials to try and split it up. And then each have their moment. You can't really see there with Punk, but all have their moment to point at the WrestleMania sign. Punk did it first, then Rollins, and then with Reigns at the end. which means, we're getting a triple threat match because we've all pointed at the sign at different points. To be honest with you, it did feel a bit flat as a segment. I don't know what I expected. I think you've got three guys there that are good promos. Of course, Punk is fantastic promo. Roman Reigns over the heel run as the Tribal Chief became a brilliant promo. Rollins can hold his own in terms of promos. I think we saw that last year actually with the build to that night one of WrestleMania. He can be a good promo. And we didn't really get it, did we? We just kind of it felt like the easy way. Like sometimes when there's no, you go, I wonder if they're going to go a bit of a creative way to get to this. And they go, well, the easiest way, they can kind of just brawl and point to the sign. And then that can set up the WrestleMania match. And they go, okay. You go, yeah. I don't know, maybe I was just expecting a bit more, And I like the way that they've all got separate issues, and that kind of brings it all together. Like, obviously, Punk and Rollins have got their issue. Reigns and Rollins have got their issue. Punk's got the issue of Reigns, and Heyman's involved. So I like that they're all connected sort of individually, which brings them all together. But in terms of executing this, it did just feel a bit lazy. Jadine says it there in the chat. It did. It just felt a bit, let's just have them brawl. I mean, they did the angle last week with Tiffany Stratton, didn't they? Charlotte Flair, Tiffany Stratton last week, we'll have them brawl. We'll have the security come out. So 2 SmackDowns in a row, they've done the same have them brawl segment because they couldn't think of any other ideas. So I still think this one probably main events night one because I can't think of what else would. I don't think it's going to be Jey Uso versus Gunther. I don't think it's going to be either of the women's matches. I just don't think that. And this one, in terms of star power, got 3 of the biggest stars in WWE. It's Roman Reigns as well. He's always in a WrestleMania main event. I think this one does main event WrestleMania. But it just felt a bit. The execution just felt a bit lazy this evening. But again, maybe that's me. Maybe I'm misreading it. I think it's really interesting to see who wins it. I think that. I think probably Roman. Maybe pinning Rollins. I don't know. I could be wrong. That Heyman's involved, and does Heyman turn? Do they play that up? But there's certainly different avenues to go down with that, and I think that is quite interesting. And look, the match between all three, I think, will be very good too. So, yeah. But in terms of the execution of it, it just wasn't for me. It wasn't. I just didn't think they executed that right. Steffi Jenks says it was messy. It was, and Jadine, one of our members, says that lazy. Austin, one of our mods, says too many brawls, kind of get a bit too much. I wish they had different ideas. Yeah, kind of felt like that. And that's SmackDown at the moment. The 3 hours, it's become a bit, very, very flat, very drawn out. Raw's the better show, clearly. Not just because it's the shorter show, but it just feels more important on Netflix. So post WrestleMania, when they have a draft and they reset the rosters, it'll be interesting to see who goes where and how they build out SmackDown. Because you would think probably Rhodes won't be on there. He'd probably go to Raw. Maybe the world champion, if that's Jey Uso, goes to SmackDown. What does that look like? 3 hours? That's tough to see. So the road to WrestleMania continues, and I think it's a very sort of debatable road, which is quite curious. So there you go, guys. That was SmackDown for you this evening. This was the post show. If you haven't already, click the like button. We've got close to 40 likes. We've got close to 70 people watching. If we can get to 50 likes on the way out, that would be amazing. Bottom right hand corner, you can see there we're currently at 19,397. Only 3 subscribers away from 19,400. So if you haven't already, be sure to click subscribe. Click the notification bell. A reminder, we've got so much going up on the channel at the moment. We've got the daily news videos as per usual, usually 1 or 2 news videos a day. We've got the countdown videos going up now, which is a bit more sort of opinion, speculation, a bit more discussion-y kind of videos. So they're going up. The last one we did was 5 AEW Dynamite debuts coming soon. We're going to have 1 about WWE returns coming up over the weekend, most likely. We're going to be having more for the members coming up soon as well, because we're going to have gaming, which is going to be exclusive for members. So if you haven't already, you can become a member. Click join, links in the video description, and you become a member of the WN365 roster. Get your badges, your emojis, your exclusive members-only content as well. And we've got more watch-alongs coming up. Won't be doing the watch-along Monday for Raw because I'm not available. But next Friday, SmackDown, I'll be live once again for a watch-along and a post-show. And then the following Monday, when Raw is from London, I'll once again be live for a watch-along and a post-show. We're going to be doing a lot of watch-alongs and post-shows as we get closer to WrestleMania. Beginning of April, we've got AEW Dynasty. I'll be doing a pay-per-view watch-along and post-show for that. And I think maybe the Friday before WrestleMania, I'll do a watch-along and a post-show. Obviously, WrestleMania both nights, watch-along post-shows. Raw after Mania, watch-along post-show. Maybe the Raw before Mania, I'll do a watch-along and a post-show. We're getting in for a big month here at Wrestling News 365, so it's going to be a really exciting time. So if you haven't already, subscribe, and you can join us for all of it. Appreciate you all, and I will see you again on another video, whenever that may be, to be honest with you. Whenever the next video... No, maybe it'll probably be tomorrow morning. Unless some extra news happens this evening. Anything's possible. I mean, it's pro wrestling after all, isn't it? You know, anything's possible. So we should see. Appreciate everyone. I'm out of it. Peace.